Let's start with a quick show of hands. Who here has done browsing on a mobile device on a bad internet connection? All right. Keep your hand up if you like this. All right. One guy who loves pain, but like most people, they do not like it. And it makes sense. All right, about me. So my name is Soeters. I'm a developer expert at Google, which means that they acknowledge that I really love web technologies, but they don't pay me. And my day job is being a front-end consultant at Xebia, currently working at the ING, the Dutch bank. I tweet at Jilles, it's my first name, and I also blog at jilles.me. The great thing about having a fairly unique first name is that you get to use your first name as a Twitter handle. The bad thing is that everyone who's not Dutch pronounces it wrong. All right, so this is a goal, and I always like to start my talks with a goal. And really the goal of today is to get you all excited about using Service Worker on your web apps or even on your website. To start off with a metric, one of the Netherlands' biggest web shops told me that 25% of their users visit the website on Chrome for Android. Why do you say Chrome for Android? Well, that's because Chrome for Android is right now the only browser that supports Service Worker, the only mobile browser that supports Service Worker. So when you're talking about 25%, you're talking about a lot of people. And not all of those people are going to be on a good connection. So of course you can think, well, we're in the Netherlands. We've got great connections here. We all know that's a lie, right? It's not everywhere that you have a good connection. Conferences, for example. But except for conferences, there's also these people. And I'm going to be calling these people the underground people. And it's really just people with a bad connection. I don't know, I live near Rotterdam. I don't know if you've ever been near Rotterdam and taken an underground. Yeah, it's horrible. There's no connection, there's crappy Wi-Fi. Try web browsing there and then you really know that we need Service Worker. All right, so we've all seen this. And I don't think anyone likes this except if you're really bored and you want to play a game. But otherwise, we all get pretty bummed out when we see this. Luckily though, there's Service Worker, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So you're probably wondering, what is a Service Worker? First of all, it's a JavaScript worker. And that means it runs in a separate thread, and it doesn't block the main JavaScript thread of Chrome. But it doesn't have the DOM access. That's because it doesn't need the web page to be open. So this means your Service Worker runs without your web page being open. It's being managed by Chrome's memory model. It's also a client-side JavaScript proxy. So this means that you can manipulate requests, manipulate responses, and do really powerful stuff. Because of that, though, it only works on HTTPS, because it opens up all sorts of man-in-the-middle attacks if you would be able to allow this on HTTP. Of course, it works on localhost because it would be really difficult to develop if you only can develop on HTTPS. What we're going to be talking about today is it allows for offline web pages. That's the big thing. And it's a progressive enhancement. This means that people who support it, like Chrome for Android, they get to use it. People who still use Safari or whatever, they don't get to use your progressive enhancement, but they don't really care or they don't notice any changes. So some of you might think, what about app cache? I mean, there is a spec for offline web pages right now. And you're right. It has some amazing features. To start off with, it doesn't load non-cached items when online again. So let me sketch you an idea. So you have a web page. You show cat images. You say, well, I want this to be able offline. You cache 3 cat images, and you forget 2 other cat images. Then you're offline. You reload the web page, and it will show only the 3 cat images. This is logical. But now when you go online and you refresh the page, it will only still show the 3 cat images. So I thought that's a great feature. Also, it only updates if the manifest.json changes. So not if you change your files. No. Only if the manifest.json changes. So you can change all your files, but everyone will still get your old site. And of course, it's just a config file, so you don't get all the awesome powers of JavaScript. It has some use. Like right now, it's the only way to get your web pages offline in Safari. Right? So if you have some awesome Apple Pie web app where you can start a timer and stuff, And you still want to use Service Worker for Chrome for Android, but if you want to support Safari, just use a fallback on App Cache, and Safari is going to support Service Worker. Jake Archibald, I don't know if you guys know him, he's from Google. He said Service Worker, or the application cache spec is like an onion. It has many layers, and once you start to peel off the layers, you'll be reduced into tiers. And this is really true. So why don't you want to use a Service Worker? Well, first of all, you want your website to be available offline, right? That's the main thing. What bothers me is if I go to a web page that I've visited before on a bad connection or on no connection and it doesn't work. Also, you want your website to be able to load faster on secure, I can never pronounce this word, on next visit. You want to be able to send push notifications, and we're not going to go into that now because we could talk about this for hours. The Service Worker allows you to send push notifications. So it really bridges the gap between the web and native right now. And you can save requests for a better time. This is called background sync. It's also a really cool API. And the way I like to show this is, imagine you're on a train and you have got a very bad or no internet connection and you're on a website. You're filling in the form, you press send, and you get the dinosaur. Well, this is fine. Sometimes if you go back, though, it won't remember your form. I don't know if you've ever done this, but it's horrible. What you can do with background sync is you can do optimistic updates. So when you press send, the website will assume you'll get a connection later on, right? So we'll just tell you, all right, you don't have a great connection right now, but I'm a Service Worker, I'll take care of this. And once you're back online, you can send a push notification back to the user saying, all right, your form has been sent now. So really interesting stuff, but we're only going to be talking about available offline right now. So registering a Service Worker is really easy. So we're just going to walk you through the code. Of course, you want to start with feature detection, right? It's a progressive enhancement. You want to give it to users who support it, and the users that don't support it, they don't notice. So you're calling the Service Worker register, and you give it the path to your Service Worker, and then an optional scope. What's important to note, you don't really have to give the scope if you just want to use your host. But what's important to note is if your Service Worker is in the JavaScript folder, your Service Worker will only be able to control pages from the JavaScript folder. So if you've got your /JS folder and you want to control a request that goes to /CSS, that's not going to work. You need to keep your Service Worker on the root, like where your index.html is. Then when it completes, right, you can tell your user your Service Worker has registered. I don't really think you want to do this, but you could. And then finally, you can catch any errors. And it's basically only if your Service Worker has a syntax error or if the path is invalid. Okay, so that's registering the Service Worker, but it's not really ready to use yet because you didn't create your Service Worker yet. Before we create the Service Worker, you might want to know how the lifecycle works. So the lifecycle is fairly easy. First, it's not noted on here, but there is first a download step, which is logical because you have to download the Service Worker. You can't do anything with this event, but it's there. Then you start to install your Service Worker. This is where you want to cache your request, like your pages and images. You want to do this in the install step. Then it's either activated or it gives you an error. Like most of the time it will be activated, but if you did something wrong, you get an error. Once activated, it's ready to use. It will go in an idle state, and it will either be terminated by Chrome. It will say, well, okay, you're no longer needed. I'll terminate it and boot it back up once it's needed. Or it will wait for fetch events or push notifications and messages. So let's create the actual Service Worker, and then I'll show you how it works. So we listen on the install event. Note that I'm using ES6 arrow functions here, and that's because it's Chrome, and only Chrome loads and Firefox as well, by the way. Sorry, Firefox. They know ES6, right? You can use arrow functions. So in the install event, you tell it, well, wait until you complete the install event until you've done the following. Then you open the cache. This is the caches API. I call it static file cache v1 right here. It gives you a promise with a cache object, and you can add some files. So I'll just add the root, about the HTML, script.js, and style.js. So now all the files of my small application will be cached and stored in the cache. So that's almost about it. Then we want to listen to the fetch event. This is where the actual making your website available offline is happening, because you want to intercept the fetch request and return something instead of a 404, right? So you listen to the fetch event, you let well fetch, respond with the following. There you go over all the caches, and you match the request. So like if the request is script.js, it will go to the cache API, get the script.js, and then return the response. So then if you have a response, of course you just return the response, right? You gave it from the cache now. And if there's no response, that's fine. You'll just fetch it again. And fetch in the service worker will never listen to a fetch from the service worker, because that would create an infinite loop. So really, this is all you give to the service worker to make your web app available offline. Let's see. All right, so before I play the video, this is housing.com. They showed it in San Francisco at the Chrome Dev Summit. It's a really, really cool progressive web app, but it shows some really cool service worker features as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the website, then I'm going to go offline, and you'll just see that it still works. So like that's pretty cool. I mean, it gives you some sort of like app feel, right? There's no dinosaur. You can actually see the app, but you can't really do anything with it. So this is cool, but it's not enough. These people, well, they actually want to play the dinosaur game rather than just look at your static app that doesn't do anything. So that's why we've got another thing called runtime caching. So the thing we showed first is pre-caching, where you just cache all the requests and the responses. But then you also want to do runtime caching. So if your user goes to your app, you want to just cache what he's doing or she's doing, and then like be able to serve that again. So we're gonna edit our fetch event a little bit. So remember, we just returned fetch. That works, but it's not really smart, right? Because if you go to the home page, then to about, to the home page, to about, it will go fetch the about page every single time. It's just not smart. So that's why we clone the request, because we're going to store it. And why you need to clone it is because the request and the response, they are streams. And you can only open a stream once. So if you want to store it, you need to clone it, because it will be a different request. So we clone it. We still call the fetch, but then we also want to do something with the response. We want to clone the response as well. Then we open a new cache, right? Just like we did before. And we're going to put the request and the response in the cache. So this cache.put is kind of like cache.all. So the cache.all is just really an array of requests, and then for each is over it, and then does cache.put, but a little smarter. And then we return the fetch response. So then it gives you something really cool. Like this. So we're still online here. Like this is before you go on the underground in Rotterdam. You're just browsing your site. And it's time to go home, and you're in the underground now, and well, gone is your connection. But because we used some sort of smart caching, you can still see the things you've seen. And this is definitely better than a dinosaur game, in my opinion. So of course I use housing.com right now because the web shop I mentioned earlier doesn't use Service Worker yet. So I'm probably going to go over there soon, give this talk as well. But guys, use Service Worker, look what you can do. But this is really cool. I think we can do this right now. So like even the underground people are happy. And this is I think I spent like a good 10 minutes on this because I'm not really good at Photoshop. But I think it looks alright. So I think I've been like sort of lying to you, right? Because the code that I've shown is definitely not the code you've seen on the housing.com website. It's not as easy as playing with toys. So you're probably going to need and want a few tools. The first one is SW Precache. It's a node module that you can use in your build step to generate the service worker for you. So you give it a path with all your files. It will generate the service worker for you and also use like some smart file hashing. That if you change your file, you run a new build, it will clean out the old caches and put in some new caches and the new responses, and it just works. The second one, that is pretty cool, I'm also going to show, is SW Toolbox. And it gives you express-like routing, or routing for our English guys here, for your service worker. So I don't know if you can read this. No, all right. Maybe if I do this. Is it better now? All right. So basically, this is the same code that I have in the second example, right, where we cache the request while you're doing runtime caching, but using SW Toolbox. So you can say, well, Toolbox pre-cache these files, but you can set some cool parameters. So our default method here is toolbox.network first. That means for default routes that aren't specified, always go to the network first and then add it to the cache. And then under here, we say, well, for other routes, go to the cache first. Right, this is the same as what we did, but it will keep track of the caches and it's just easier to use. And then the last thing I want to give you guys, and it's not really service worker related, but like the title of the talk is fast and offline web apps. I don't even remember my own talk title, but it's something like that. And you want to use Lighthouse. It's a Chrome extension and also a CLI app that will run all sorts of speed metrics on your web app or website. So you don't even need to have a web app to use Lighthouse. Just try it on your website or your company site, and it will give you all sorts of cool metrics like time to interactive, and you can just make your site faster. So the goal was to get you guys excited about Service Worker. So I've shown you like the tip of the iceberg, right? There's offline, there's push notifications, there's background sync, there's more cool stuff coming as well because the spec is in development. But I really hope that with this talk of half an hour, I got you guys excited about Service Worker. Thanks.